Good evening and welcome to ITV News. This is Monday night's calendar.
Yes, good evening. Here are tonight's main stories.
A teenager is jailed for killing a spectator at a car meet just 11 weeks after passing his driving test.
A judge said today that the victims' families would suffer a lifetime of grief and misery because of what had happened.
Out of the ashes, the owner of a popular deli ravaged by fire vows the business will reopen.
Slippery customers. 4 giant pythons have been captured in North Lincolnshire, but one is still on the loose.
And I would definitely be hiding behind a tree if I'd seen a snake, but we are going to have another look at the weekend's temperatures. They are set to rise through the week. All the detail a little later on.
First tonight, a 19-year-old has been sentenced to 5 years in prison for what a judge described as yet another depressing example of a young man driving dangerously with sad and tragic consequences.
Lewis Samuels was jailed today for causing the death by dangerous driving of Connor Richards, an autistic man from Sheffield who loved cars.
Connor had gone as a spectator to a car meet in Scunthorpe with friends when Samuel's car ploughed into him. Katie Oscroft reports.
19-year-old Lewis Samuels at the back of this group was a boy when he knocked down and killed a man. He was barely 17 and it was 11 weeks after he passed his driving test. But his dangerous driving left a scene of mayhem. 11 people injured and scores of traumatised witnesses in the Flixper area of Scunthorpe, where the speed limit was 30 miles an hour. At times, Samuel's speed was in excess of 70. 23-year-old Connor Richards from Sheffield was amongst the many spectators. His love of cars had introduced him to this community of like-minded people. But Hull Crown Court heard that he was struck by Lewis Samuels' out-of-control car, which had first crashed into another vehicle. Judge John Thackeray told Lewis Samuels, "You have brought lifelong grief and misery to the family and friends of Connor Richards." And he said there could easily have been more fatalities. The judge went on, "You were showing off, not satisfied with people looking at your car. You were driving at vastly excessive speeds."
Samuels has ruined his own life, and the ripple effect on his own family, friends and loved ones is immeasurable. They will all be living with the fact that he killed someone for the rest of their lives. Samuels made a deliberate decision to ignore the rules of the road, showing complete disregard for the risk of danger to others.
Humberside Police is working to reduce incidents like this. Its 1 Second campaign highlights the consequences of reckless and dangerous driving for victims' families.
I'm Natasha's mum and I'm here to help Humberside Police and other people understand the devastating impact that a road traffic collision has on a family.
Connor Richards' mother told the court today in a statement that her son's death had a lasting impact on the family and their only comfort was that he died doing something he loved. Well, this has been a difficult day in court. The families of Connor Richards and Lewis Samuels sat almost side by side in here. Connor Richards' mother described him as a special and clever son and said it would have been his 26th birthday today. The court also heard from Lewis Samuels, who said he knew he was going to prison today and he told his legal team he also knew that he deserved it and he regretted what he'd done. Well, the police said afterwards none of this need have happened.
Katie Oscroft at Hull Crown Court for us this evening. Thank you.
The Home Secretary has announced new laws to target grooming gangs and said that an audit of police forces in West and South Yorkshire indicated suspects were disproportionately likely to be Asian men and said that ignoring issues allowed the criminality of a minority to marginalise communities.
The announcements came after the government commissioned a review into grooming gangs by Baroness Louise Casey, which has recommended a national inquiry coordinating a series of targeted local investigations. Operation Stovewood, a National Crime Agency investigation into child sexual exploitation in Rotherham between 1997 and 2013, has identified more than 1,100 potential victims and secured more than 40 convictions.
Well, our political correspondent Charanpreet Kaur is at Westminster for us. Good evening, Charanpreet. Will this national inquiry look again at Rotherham?
In a sense, it will, Lara. There are two prongs to this national inquiry: justice and accountability. When it comes to justice, the Home Secretary says she wants old cases of child sexual exploitation that were closed prematurely to be reopened, and that will include many of the horrific cases that happened in Rotherham. When it comes to accountability, the picture is less clear. 5 local areas will be looked at in particular detail. We know that Oldham is one of them, but we don't yet know whether Rotherham will be re-examined or Bradford, another hotspot in our area. As you said, the Home Secretary doesn't want to shy away from race. She said that 2 police forces, West Yorkshire and South Yorkshire, showed that Asian men were disproportionately identified as perpetrators. Victims will be hoping that an honest examination of that, as well as other structural issues, will allow this crime to not happen again. We spoke to one victim in Rotherham who had been abused in the 2000s.
It's left me with lifelong trauma. I suffer from complex post-traumatic stress disorder, depression and severe anxiety, amongst other things. You know, we've seen demonstrations where survivors have been on foot begging. We've asked, myself, have asked and asked and asked for 6 months. And I feel like we've had to beg. They've let us beg.
Well, Charanpreet, the survivor we spoke to, referenced calls by Elon Musk in January. So why has the government changed its mind now?
Yeah, that's right, Ian. That was a reference to Elon Musk in January taking to X and saying that the Labour government had covered up instances of this abuse. After that, Reform and the Conservatives called for a national inquiry, and the Labour government accused them of jumping on a far-right bandwagon. Well, the reality is that inquiries were commissioned when the Conservatives were in power, and Labour said that they wanted time to accept the recommendations of those before committing to a new inquiry. Today, Naz Shah, Bradford MP, stood up and said that it was important not to make the race of the perpetrators become a political issue.
Let me reiterate in this House that British Muslims stand on the side of victims and support the full force of the law against all perpetrators of abuse. But would the Home Secretary agree with me that those that display selective outrage or fan the flames to blame entire communities do nothing to protect innocent victims or further the cause of victims?
The reality is this is about years of abuse spanning from the 2000s onwards. We don't yet know whether the abuse that took place in Bradford will form part of this inquiry, but Robbie Moore, the MP for Keighley and Ilkley, says that convictions must follow if it does.
Where there has been criminal activity, convictions have to happen. Where there has been jobs of those that have safeguarding responsibility that has not been fulfilled and there's been wrongdoing, people have got to lose their jobs. No stone must be left unturned, and it needs to be quick as well to deliver that trust back into the system, not something that's going to take years and years and years.
That was Robbie Moore speaking before the parameters of this inquiry were announced. I actually just ran into him and he said that without Bradford being included, he won't consider this a national inquiry. The politics continues. When it comes to victims, they'll be hoping this is a next step towards their stories being ended.
Charanpreet Kaur, thank you very much.
Thank you for being with us for Monday night's calendar, and still to come on the programme, Reaching New Heights. We catch up with the West Yorkshire woman who's completed the Everest Marathon despite having terminal breast cancer.
And a lovely shot across Sheffield today. Definitely some sunshine in the mix this week, but how hot is it going to be by the weekend? All the detail a little later on.
Next, a woman whose restaurant burned down as she watched on helplessly says that she's lucky to be alive.
But Jill Pittendray says she's lost nearly everything in the fire which gutted the Joyful Deli in Addingham in West Yorkshire.
There's been a huge response from the local community, and she's determined that the business, which she set up to improve mental health in lockdown, will be back. Helen Steele reports.
A family business burns down, while in the house next door, the owners sleep.
It was just like we're going to get out of the house quick enough, because within minutes it was just going through. The bedroom was just absolutely full of smoke and one boy in there asleep.
Jill Pittendray managed to wake her family. Today she's thankful they're alive, but devastated at the loss of her restaurant.
This is where you were sleeping up here, isn't it, when you first heard the noise?
Yeah, it is. So we were in bed, the windows were open, and because obviously we'd had some warm weather, woke up to the smell of fire. So looked out and the barn was just absolutely roaring.
Former mental health worker Jill opened the Joyful Deli in Addingham as a plant stall during lockdown, providing teas and coffees. Since then, she's transformed this barn into a restaurant, spending £80,000 on fixtures and fittings alone.
We all stood in the back garden and just watched the whole place go.
How did that feel? You built it up, haven't you? How did that feel?
Horrendous. Horrendous, yeah. 1 minute I'm all right, and next minute I'm just like, right, come on, kick, get going, move forward, sort of thrive here on positivity, mental health for people.
The building was insured, but because it's on a floodplain, the contents was not. In the kitchen, chef Rosie is unpacking donations from customers.
And you've been dealing with kind of the community and their response, haven't you? What's that been like?
Absolutely. So I set up a crowdfunder just as a bit of a sort of a hope and desperation claw, really, because I didn't know what else to do, and the response has been overwhelming.
The cause of the fire is still being investigated, but the fire service has said it was accidental.
So what did you think when you heard about what had happened? What was your first reaction?
Tears, floods of tears, and I've kept crying over it. It's just been devastating to see it, and the amount of hard work that's gone in to building it from where it was just coffee and cake and then plants.
Jill's hoping to be open outside from next week.
But will you guys keep coming?
I would come to sit anyway. I would sit with the horses.
Helen Steele, ITV News in Addingham.
Stem cell donations from Black, Asian and mixed ethnicity donors are at a 10-year high, but concerns remain as patients still struggle to find a match.
Only 11% of the NHS registry is made up of people from these groups, and stem cell transplants are often used to treat blood cancers and immune deficiencies.
Well, recipients require an exact match from a certain sequence of DNA, and if a family member doesn't fit, those from a non-white background may struggle to find a suitable person. Nick Smith reports.
A stem cell transplant is a modern medical marvel. When the donated cells reach a recipient's bone marrow, they begin to develop and multiply into healthy blood cells, effectively rebuilding a damaged immune system. For recipients, the impact can be life-changing. Andre Dorset had a form of lymphoma and couldn't find a stem cell match on the database. Luckily, his daughter emerged as a candidate when his family all tested.
Johnny had just turned the consenting age, and we asked, is it possible to test her? And they did, and she was luckily a perfect match.
It was an immediate yes, obviously. I was so happy to help Dad, and the process was made really quite simple for me, which I really appreciated. There's a real lack of education and misinformation surrounding the actual stem cell process, and we need to spread more awareness for Black, Asian and ethnic minorities to get on the register and donate, because it could save someone's life.
At this laboratory, hundreds of blood samples are processed each day, with the DNA sequenced and logged on a database for those looking for donors.
The DNA technology has been used for maybe 20 years, but the level that the sequencing and the speed that we can do it has increased immensely. So we can do, last month, for instance, we did 5,000 new donors. The degree of matching we need for a stem cell transplant is quite a high degree of match. So that's why we have to search lots of donors.
Matches need similar genes producing proteins on our immune cells, so it usually has to come from someone with a similar ethnicity, and there is still a significant shortfall in some communities.
Because of my ethnicity, there are less donors on the registry to look for matches for myself. I've looked on registries around the world. There was one donor, and that was me. So the more donors we have, the better chance for patients to find a match.
And the process is pretty straightforward. It can all be done at a local blood donation centre, like this one in Sheffield.
There has been an increase in the number of donors from Black, Asian and mixed heritage communities. However, there is a real need for more volunteers to come forward. There have been misconceptions, which has led to misunderstanding throughout the generations. And I think it's up to us now to actually find out what blood donation and stem cell donation involves.
The chance of finding a stem cell donor within a family is only about 30%, which is why the more registered on the database, the better chance of finding life-saving matches. Nick Smith, ITV News.
Yeah, we should probably all sign up to it, really. Now then, Mount Everest is something very few people attempt. With its high altitude, cold temperatures, rough terrain, it's a gruelling challenge for anyone.
It certainly is, but one woman from Leeds has taken it on just over a year on from her incurable breast cancer diagnosis. Shauna Burke completed the world's highest marathon last month in aid of Macmillan Cancer. And she joined us earlier in the studio and said the challenge had energised her.
How are you feeling, having done this monumental marathon?
Feeling fantastic, I have to say. I mean, I'm still processing the entire experience because it's a lot to take on board. But overall, I'm over the moon, I'm elated and just really, really relieved that I was able to complete the goals that I set for myself, which was the marathon, the climb, as well as fundraising for Macmillan.
So how did your body perform throughout all of this? Because, you know, it's a real challenge.
It's a massive challenge. So when you start at 5,400 metres or 17,500 feet, you're in an environment where the oxygen is very thin. It's difficult to breathe, you have rapid heartbeat, very simple tasks when you leave your tent, say to walk to the dining tent or the toilet tent. You can feel your body working extremely hard. So imagine trying to run a marathon at that elevation is very, very taxing on the body. But my body held up. It's been in high altitude before. 20 years ago, I reached the summit of Everest. So my body does know how to perform and my mind knows how to manage the difficulties that are associated with high altitude. So I held up quite well and I managed to cross the finish line.
Wow.
But let's not forget just how difficult this is for you because you're living with cancer, aren't you? Tell us about that.
That's right. So a year ago, I was diagnosed with incurable cancer. So my cancer has spread. It's metastasized from the breast to the liver. And as a result of that, I've undergone 4.5 months of chemotherapy, a double mastectomy, liver surgery, radiotherapy, and I found out that I'm BRCA2 positive, so I opted to have my ovaries removed as well. So it's been 12 months of intensive treatments, back-to-back treatments, hospital appointments, scans, doctor's appointments. So I can tell you going to the mountains and just being in the Himalayas was a very welcome respite from all of that.
And keeping fit, of course, is the key to this, isn't it? You know, that's what's keeping you going, keeping fit, battling away, hitting this cancer hard.
Absolutely. So my area of research is in prehabilitation. So I work directly with cancer patients, developing interventions to help patients prepare themselves for the treatments that they're going to face. And exercise is a big component of that. Exercise helps cancer patients manage the side effects of treatment so they experience less fatigue, less pain. It helps them manage their depression if they have any and anxiety. And it also helps patients get out of hospital quicker.
We're just so impressed with what you've done. Shauna, thanks very much for coming in and telling us all about it.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Wonderful. And she's got plans as well for next year. Big, big plans.
All right, so we'll have to keep you posted on that, won't we?
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. Now then, after calendar, it's the ITV Evening News at 6:30. Let's find out what's on the programme from Charlene White.
Israel and Iran continue to trade strikes as tensions in the region escalate. The IDF has warned residents in parts of Tehran to evacuate. The Home Office says the National Crime Agency will lead an operation to bring more grooming gangs to justice. And with a heat wave on the cards this week, why your kids' sunglasses could be harming their eyes. Join us for those stories and more from 6:30.
Thank you. Well, it's time for some sport now. Arif is here, and one of our teams has won some long overdue trophy wear, haven't they?
They have indeed, Lara. Better late than never for the Halifax Panthers, I say. After winning the first 4 Wheelchair Rugby League Challenge Cups, they've had to wait 7 years to win it again. The Panthers beat the London Roosters 46 points to 24 in Wigan. Star of the show was Halifax-born Rob Hawkins, who scored 2 tries and added 7 conversions.
I don't think I've seen a better team performance from us in a few years, where everyone's got on the scoring sheet. So it was a great feeling once we saw that afterwards, and really hard earned and well earned for the rest of the team.
Staying with rugby league, and it was an emotional afternoon at Wakefield yesterday. The game against Leigh was dedicated to the grandson of Trinity head coach Darryl Powell. 1-year-old Clark, who was carried on to the pitch before the game, is currently being treated for leukaemia. And the German football expert has told Calendar that Leeds United's new signing, Lucas Nemecha, has a lot to prove. Yesterday, the 26-year-old became Leeds' first signing since their promotion back to the Premier League. The former Preston and Middlesbrough frontman has 7 international caps for Germany since moving back to the country of his birth 4 years ago. But his recent playing time at Wolfsburg has been severely impacted by injury.
Yeah, it's a risk. He has performed somewhat in the Bundesliga, so I wouldn't say he's not talented. He's very technically gifted. And he's very flexible, but I don't see how exactly it's going to work, especially just with his injury record.
Yeah, good luck to him. Hopefully he has a better time of it here in West Yorkshire.
Yeah, let's hope so. Thank you very much,
You're
Arif.
welcome.
You're not scared of snakes, are you?
Terrified. Petrified.
You might want to look away.
I'm going to.
Yes, we must warn you that if you're afraid of snakes, you probably will want to look away. An 18-foot-long snake has been rescued. There it is, after being found outside a house in North Lincolnshire. It's now called Titch, a little bit ironic. It's one of 4 reticulated pythons which have been discovered in the last few days, and it's thought that the reptiles may have been abandoned, some in woodland. Humberside Police's Rural Task Force say that a 5th snake could still be on the loose, so keep your eyes peeled.
The condition of them is quite good, actually. They had parasitic mites, which is not uncommon with snakes. So we've been treating them for that. But they've been fed, they've been watered, and they seem to be in fairly good shape. Typically, they can grow to around sort of 20 to 25 feet is a big one. Titch is currently about 18 feet and could potentially grow a bit bigger.
Imagine that. Going for a walk and finding a big snake like that.
Finding Titch. Yeah,
Titch.
not very good.
Or his friends.
I'm guessing though it's quite warm weather, so they might quite like that.
They're probably having a really good time. Unless you come across one. It's terrifying.
Yeah.
They swim too, apparently.
Do they?
Yes,
swim?
they
The big
swim.
ones?
They can swim. Yeah, out to sea.
Okay, don't give anyone nightmares.
Not for
Welcome
me.
back.
Not
Welcome
for me.
back, Heather.
Thank
It's good to
you.
have you.
I'll tell you what else is not for me.
What?
The temperatures by the end of this week.
Really?
I mean, today was warm enough for me. I don't know if you were out. It was like sunny. It was warm.
lovely.
It was mid-20s. And we got to 26 today, very comfortably, so really quite nice. But they're going to climb probably a little bit fresher midweek and then sort of climb day on day as we head into the second half of the week. Lots of questions about where the heat's coming from. Are we having a heat wave? Yes, probably. Thursday into the weekend's probably almost definitely going to be a heat wave for the whole of the region. There's lots of talk about Portugal and Spain because they're going to have some intense heat from Wednesday onwards, 40 degrees.
That's
Is it
awful.
coming our way? Well, sort of, but not yet. People think that by the end of the week we're importing that air, but actually over the next couple of days we're importing our air from Greenland, and it's the high pressure that basically stagnates the air over the UK. Nothing ever moves, and then of course we've got lots of sunshine at the moment. We're heading towards, of course, the longest day on Saturday, so it's the high pressure over Wednesday to Friday that will give us the temperatures, but by the time we reach Sunday we do indeed look to be importing that air. So I'm not saying 40, but we could be getting over 30, and that is quite warm, even for us in a warming world and a warming climate for June. So yeah, really warm.
So you're out in
Really
the garden.
warm.
Yeah, I don't like
Goodness
it.
me.
Mid-20s is fine. I mean, yesterday was lovely, wasn't it? Of course, it was Dad's Day. This is Castle Howard. A big thank you to Simon Abbott.
I love Castle Howard.
Absolutely gorgeous backdrop. Cannon Hall on Sunday by Paula, and Bridlington. It was very busy for Race the Waves. What's in store for the next few days?
A
clear start makes way for a day of ancient discoveries. TUI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
Yes, apart from a little bit of cloud during the afternoon, a decent day already to start the week today. Plenty of sunshine at North Landing. A big thank you to Trish Morris for the shot. And also, this is one from the Riveroos this morning. A big thank you to Gary. Keep them coming, weather photos at itv.com. So yes, we've just got a little blip tomorrow, but really by the end of the day, that weather front fizzling out and coming towards us, and then high pressure rebuilding behind that as we head into Wednesday and staying with us for the rest of the week. The temperatures knocking up day on day. So for this evening, fine. Overnight tonight, it stays mostly dry and clear. There'll be little bits of cloud coming and going, and especially over the Yorkshire Dales, a little bit of low cloud by the time we reach tomorrow morning. And temperature-wise, for most of us, definitely in double figures, and some towns and cities not dropping much below 14 or 15 overnight tonight. There is some times for tomorrow, 4:34 and 9:40. So tomorrow and for much of the day, it's actually a lovely day. It's just in that northwestern corner that we'll see a bit more cloud and the risk of some light rain and drizzle pushing onto the Pennines. Further south and east, we hold on to the better sunnier skies and the better temperatures, 24, possibly 25 Celsius. And those winds coming in from the west, just a bit of a breeze over the Pennines, pushing this very weak system south and eastwards during the course of the night. But the high pressure rebuilds as we head into Wednesday, so perhaps a bit of cloud around first thing. But as the day unfolds, we'll see increasing amounts of blue sky and sunshine, and the temperatures increasing too. It's a slightly fresher day behind that system on Wednesday, but still mid-20s possible. Some pretty muggy nights to come, some very warm to hot days as we head towards the weekend, but the winds will be light, mostly dry and fine.
TUI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather. Making the most of summer. Piri sponsors ITV Pollen Count.
Yeah, settled summery weather, great news for many of us. Not so much for hay fever sufferers, potentially very high by the end of the week. And between now and then, the grass pollen counts will be high.
You know, it felt so warm this morning that when I was walking the dog, I was thinking about his little paws.
Yeah, you
You've got
do
to be careful, haven't
yeah,
you?
for sure. That is one of the bullet points for late this week, for sure.
Yeah.
And sun cream on my cat's ears.
There you go, and their nose.
There you go.
And their nose as well. That's all for now. We'll see you again tomorrow. Have a very good evening. Good night.
Bye. Bye.